in.
And we are live.
All right, it is
4:02 on the East Coast of the United States. Right now, it is June 14th, 2023. This is episode 31 of the Web3 podcast. This is your weekly insight for the business side of blockchain. This week, Web3 goes shopping. Can a chat app be a wallet? What's the retail revolution no one's talking about? How does Reddit speed us towards Web3? We will delve into these and bigger questions in the next 45 minutes. I'm joined as always by my two lovely co-hosts, Michelle Peterson-Clark.
Hey, everyone.
And Mike Neubauer.
Hello, hello.
Purpose of this podcast is to give you guys some insight into the business side of what's developing in the business world of blockchain, Web3, how it can be used as a business model, how you can make money from marketing and sales with these tools. So we're going to pull some stories and we're going to talk about them. Story number one, which I'm going to dive right into, comes from courtesy of your ops guy, Mike Neubauer. This is social wallets enable people to co-own digital assets. So social wallets are a growing trend in Web3. For those who are not familiar, this thing uses a chat app as a wallet, which allows group co-ownership of digital assets, right? So Tribes is a company that does this, for example, and this project is a social wallet group chat that allows co-ownership inside the Web3 environment. Mike, I'd like you to walk us through this, what it is and what it means.
I think you're complicating it in your description by co-ownership and wallets and things like that. Basically, this is one of the most practical use cases of how your digital wallet is your digital identity online, right? So rather than having a login for Twitter, a login for Instagram, a login for Facebook, you basically have a digital wallet that you can sign in and you can participate in this chat mechanic. It also has the ability to log in for other Web3 applications such as OpenSea, smart contracts, that kind of stuff. So what is Tribes? I mean, I had a great conversation with that group this week. Nice guys. They're onto something really cool. They recently just got a little bit of funding. And they started diving into some of the protocols that we've discussed here on this podcast too. So the 6551, where, for example, an NFT can own other NFTs, they incorporated that into their chat feature. So what exactly is their feature? So you can basically log into their system, sign in using your digital wallet, and communicate using that wallet amongst other people's wallets, right? So all three of us can get into a group chat with our respective wallets. We can communicate. We can also transact, right? So I can send you coins. I can send you tokens. I can send you all sorts of different things. I can request them from you. They're about to implement some other cool bells and whistles that I don't know if I can disclose at this time, but it's all designed to keep the interaction in one chat type environment. Now, how does that work into some of the protocols that we discussed in the past? Well, if an NFT owns another NFT, if you log in as the primary NFT that owns other NFTs, you would have the ability to chat as those other nested NFTs. So, for example, if I have a battle bunny and beneath that battle bunny, I have a dragon, if I log into this chat app, I am able to communicate not only as myself, I can communicate as the bunny and I can communicate as the dragon. So now you're talking about a whole storytelling little adventure where you can kind of characterize and put yourself in these different constructs. That's just one little application. There's going to be different transactions that are going to be applicable for projects like the Unfantasy Football League, where you can not only talk smack, but you can also, trade your tokens amongst other people. You can trade your teams. There's basically an interactive component that can easily be embedded on any website. They have an app currently. They're moving in the right direction. Still very early on, but you can tell that things are moving correctly.
Interesting. I like the storytelling. Michelle, what do you think of all this?
I think it's really an interesting thing. I was reading the information and had a look at Tribe.xyz, which was the lead in the story. And by the way, reminding everyone that I will put the stories in the thread of the Web3x3 spaces on Twitter so that you can go and have a look at those links. I think some of the thing that I found really interesting, and Mike might be able to tell us a little bit more about how this works from a technical point of view, was that if you're in a shared wallet with people for a particular community, so just say, like this, last week I launched a history newsletter in a Web3 environment, and I'm doing that weekly. I could have a group of people in as one of my tribes, and I could say to them, okay, next week, do you want me to talk about, the Queen, the King, or Princess of Wales or something, and vote on it? And each person is able to vote within that wallet. And I found that a really interesting concept. And from a technical point of view, I don't know how that works, but maybe you might be able to help us and explain that a little bit. But I thought that was a really really great feature and a really interesting thing.
So, Mike, let me ask this question: is it an NFT ownership of an NFT, right? That's what we're mentioning.
That's a different protocol that's incorporated here in this chat technology. So you have this social technology that is eligible to integrate that other protocol within this, right? So it's two separate groups, but this is how we met, right? Because I've been doing a lot of work with the 6551 and trying to understand that concept. And therefore, I met these guys based around what I had seen. But treat this not as in-depth on Web3 as you might think, right? So the three of us collectively get together and we formulate a chat. That doesn't necessarily formulate a wallet that we would be basically, be able to interact and change on. We just basically create a forum where the three wallets that we log in as can communicate amongst ourselves. Right. So what value does this hold? Well, you can do everything you would typically do in Web3 in this chat forum, right? So you can transact, you can send, you can receive, you could request, you can set all sorts of different things. There's going to be different applications. They're going to pile on top of that in the future. And then you can take that communication anywhere, any device that you have. Right. So rather than logging into Instagram on your phone and then popping in on a computer, logging into Instagram, as long as your wallet is the same wallet that you're communicating with on the app, then everything kind of carries over, including the transactions. So, for example, Michelle, if you wanted to communicate and set up a tribe with, the followers on your newsletter, you can easily just plug those wallet addresses in. Promote the fact that this is an app that people can get their hands on, and then you would basically create this forum of communication amongst everybody that's in there.
Interesting.
Yeah, it seems good, isn't it? Yeah, very good. So where do you think it's going, Mike? Like how far can they take this, do you think? Because at the moment, that's that particular one, and I'm sure there's others being built. That particular one is in alpha. They're not even at the beta stage yet, right? So how does this play out? You tell us.
I mean, I don't know all the details. I had one conversation with them. I know that they are not far away from moving, solidifying their confidence into the beta phase. They definitely prove the model. They prove the concept. They're building out a lot of these SDKs where people, on random websites can easily drop the application in and utilize the functionality. I think that's a big component. They already have an app on the iOS and Android store, so that's another big component. So they can easily integrate directly with mobile devices, which, that's important because your mobile device will give you the notifications, which keep people engaged in the communication channels, right? So when you post a new newsletter, you can pop that into the chat. People automatically get access to that. Let's assume that access to that newsletter is Web3 token gated. They would easily be able to click a link that wallet is already connected to that device. Like all of these things become automated at that point. Where this goes and where the work really has to come in. I mean, I really think that they need to make sure that whatever information is communicated amongst people is set up where it's on chain and it's not stored on some server somewhere that can easily get, taken down, destroyed, disappear into the ether. I'm sure they've gone through those protocols. Again, I don't know enough of the insides and outs of what they've done in building it, but everything I've heard from the guys, like I spoke to Andrew, I spoke to Hish, like these guys are very well versed on what they've been doing here. I believe Andrew has already sold one of his products to Twitter. So they're very familiar with developing things that can make it mainstream, which, who knows, maybe this easily gets devoured by Elon over there too.
So I think
one of the other guys is a Coinbase guy as well. So he was there in the early days when Coinbase was setting up. So obviously a lot of experience of how those early stages go, and what are the things you need to do and what shouldn't you do as well.
All right, I'm just totally fabricating this. This is my impression. Number one, Mike, I think you're right. It's early stages. This is not necessarily a bad thing. This is actually quite ahead of the curve. So it's fascinating.
It's fascinating.
For that matter, because of that, I believe it's going to end up a feature of a larger thing,
like you said.
These guys will get bought, will be incorporated into something else. But I think the concept is really a good one. Group ownership, et cetera, like that. The world isn't there yet. But to have the technology that can do that in place, that can then be built upon later. That's what I would think. But
yeah, I don't think this is an application that is designed to stand on its own anyway. I think it's designed to get devoured and, incorporated, not just on one, but, they back up a Brinks truck, maybe exclusivity. But one of the cool parts about their app too right now is that if you don't have a wallet, they'll generate a custodial one for you right now. So you'll be able to log in and communicate as part of that app. Yeah. So, again, it's still very early on. I'd like to see the interface have more options. And, obviously that's going to come with time. But there's going to be direct correlation with different tokens and different NFTs that people have within their wallets too, which again is another component, right? If you click on somebody that you're having a communication with, it basically is a projection of what's ever in their wallet, whatever tokens they have, whatever coins they have. You get a snapshot of all that stuff. So you can actually work out deals, transactions if you're in a community, if you're gamifying it. There's a lot of different use cases there.
The other thing too that I thought was really interesting from a business angle perspective was that you can run it like a multi-signature wallet if you've got different directors running a group. Or different people who are in charge. Like one of the examples was like a parent committee or something like that, like the treasurer and the treasurer and the head of, the chairperson and the secretary get to be the three signatories on the wallet. So I think that those sorts of applications means that it can actually be used for really low level practical stuff. And I think that's great too.
Well, think about just quick, think about how you can sign off on things in a business. If you treat this as your business chat and every employee has their own wallet and you create these things, this is an easy sign off when you approve that type of transaction.
Yeah.
What I wanted to add, that this is the point where we'll say that this is a business conversation, is not intended as investment advice. So folks, please be aware this is just a conversation around potentialities. We are not recommending
anything right here.
And on that note, we'll say that this episode is sponsored by the Web3 Content Lab. This is strategic consulting to help your business get Web3 ready. ContentMarketingQueen.com. Taking us to story number two here. Close to the Web2 world of crashing websites. Reddit crashes from the subreddit blackout. So for those who aren't aware, yesterday and today, Reddit had begun to plan to start charging for its free API next month. This is true. So more than 7,000 Reddit pages went dark as a result of this in a site-wide protest. They don't want to have to pay. Reddit right now is prepping for an IPO later this year. They want a $15 billion valuation. They believe this will help them get there because they can charge for this product. But apps that mine Reddit data will now have to pay 24 cents for every 10,000 data requests. Only 10% of Reddit's app developers are affected by this, but they are the largest ones there. So this begs the question of Michelle, I'd like you to talk about this a little bit.
So I'd like to start the controversial conversation, and I'd like to say that I think that this is the start of the death of socials in Web 2. Yeah. I'm lifting the heavyweight here. They're increasingly, because Elon has gotten away with some stuff, I think that other platforms are going, hey, I think that we could try it on a little bit. Eventually, people will get sick of this. Now, there's been lots. If you've been on Twitter and you have been looking at this stuff, then you will know that there have been a lot of discussions, particularly amongst the people that are the bigger players in Reddit. Now, there's one particular guy who isn't necessarily a big player in terms of making money and necessarily out of Reddit, although he does do a pretty good job. He has 50,000 people in his community. They pay him $1 a month for their access to his Reddit thing. Some of them are on yearly plans. So $12 per person. Not very much, but he's got 50,000 people doing that, right? So that's a large amount of money. Except that the change in this API request means that it's going to cost him about $50,000 a month to actually access it. And he's basically gone, well, what's the point of that? Because that's a break-even scenario at that point. So either he charges people more, and it wasn't run as a business in the first instance, I don't think. He either charges people more, or he's just gone, like, for $12, I'll just give people their $12 back and, like, forget about it kind of thing, you know. So there's a number of those. The two biggest ones in the Reddit family, that basically Reddit have said they're not going to do any kind of deals with them. If we want to know the names, I can get. There's the CEO of Reddit. There was a leaked document today about an email that he sent to employees. Apollo and RIF are the two biggest third-party apps that use Reddit, and they're not going to do anything with them, but they're in conversation with some other people. They've said that they're going to give community groups and charities and those sorts of things free access to the API. They won't charge them. But I get that they're a business. They need to make money. I understand that. But I think that this current mindset amongst the Web2 platforms, social platforms, where we'll just charge exorbitant amounts of money for our API access, which has been free for the most part for most things now, because in an open source kind of way and community, and Mike can talk a bit more about this, sharing of the API and people using your API used to be a kudos thing. It used to be that you went, hey, yeah, such and such an app who has 300 million followers, they use our API in order to do X, Y, and Z. It used to be a badge of honor that you did that. Now they've gone, well, they've got all those people, we're going to start charging money for it, which, maybe some, but like as in Elon's, the Twitter thing is like, it's something ridiculous, like $100 a month or $25,000 a month or something. Like the difference between tier 1 and tier 2 is crazy. And it appears that Reddit's a similar thing now. And I talked for a really long time. I'm so sorry. Did I take a breath?
No, I have to say, I think over the last few years in the IPO world, scale has been more important than profit. I'm going into investment community stuff. In the world of Web2, we've seen the same thing. There's a tug of war between a for-profit effort, let's just say what they're trying to do here at Reddit, and a community building, which is what Web3 is all about. So if it doesn't matter, they're both, but you have to be clear with what you're doing. In the case of Elon Musk with Twitter, new guy comes in, clearly a capitalist pig, as anyone would determine him, and I think that he was like, yeah, we're going to make money. We lay off half the firm, and we start charging. That was kind of expected, not liked, but expected. Here you have community building. Reddit has never charged, and now all of a sudden they want an IPO. So I know why they want their $15 billion valuation. That stabs the community building thing in the back. There's been no changeover of management. There's no incoming Elon Musk type character. So I think that's where you're getting pushback. And this just goes back to the Web2 versus Web3 world. Like, what are we doing? Are we making money? Or are we making the world a better place? They're both fine, but be clear.
Well, with an IPO, you have a fiduciary to stockholders to try to make money. And if there's an incentive that you are leaving on the table, you leave yourself vulnerable for lawsuits if people invest into the company. So I think that from a business perspective is the right move. Reddit, by the way, is one of the premier platforms where people can actually coordinate different strategies on how to fight the system, right? We saw that happen with GameStop.
The irony.
Well, exactly. But I also feel that that's an opportunity to actually have that same group make this company theirs if it is public. Now, you open the doors to hedge funds and all these other players that can come in with very deep pockets and ultimately reign control over where the system goes. But from a Web3 perspective, that's a really good thing because now it's going to push people in the direction of this decentralized system.
Well, I would hope, Mike. I feel like the decentralized system is it flies in the face of an IPO.
Flies in the face. You mean combats it?
Yeah, like people want money when they're going to go public. When the managers are looking for just squeeze out the last possible penny out of everything, they're not looking to build community.
I mean, I guess that's true in certain cases. There's other cases where community building and that profit-driven model go hand in hand. There are a lot of communities that do that effectively, like Starbucks, for example. You know, that is a community for sure, and they definitely make a shit ton of money because coffee doesn't cost $8. But you know, the incentive from a corporate perspective doesn't necessarily have to butt heads with the community. Now, if it does, then there's alternative technology that can be developed, like a Reddit Web3. And that Reddit Web3 could be an easy integrated platform using a chat feature, for example, which can generate certain forums, certain elements that aren't stored on some random company server that, you know, is paying to cool things down. And if the grid goes, so does the server. These things would live on chain. They would be accessible anywhere in the world. They would be applicable only through wallet addresses. Everything becomes this more, we don't want to move away from the man type of mentality. And there's different things that can be incorporated on that Web3 front as well that open up the doors to different utilities that are still revenue generating as well. So I think it's an exciting experience. It's definitely going to, I guess, test the waters on what that type of community thinks of Web3 and whether that migration effort occurs pretty quickly. But, you know, time will tell.
What do you think?
I think, too, there's a couple of points.
Oh, wait, Michelle, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. My husband was putting the bins out, so I muted so you wouldn't hear it on the recording, and then it was muted. I think there's a couple of points. One is clearly the impetus to make money on behalf of IPOing is obviously the team at Reddit. So they've gone, we can make a lot of money out of this if we IPO. Set up for life. They can exit door right slowly in a couple of years and, you know, lie on the beach in the Bahamas and look at Sam's apartment probably. But anyway, and that's the first point. The second point is, you know, that Reddit community. So, you know, the people who have been on Reddit, mostly young type people, you know, because they're in their gamer forums or, you know, based on topics and those sorts of things. You know, I don't know. A lot of them now these days they kind of vote with their feet on community or moral issues, don't they? A bit more than perhaps older people who go, oh, well, money's money, and you know, we need to make money and all of that kind of stuff, which is fine. I understand that. But I just think the way they've gone about it is just stupid. And yeah, not right.
I'll share this little anecdote. I've worked with multiple companies on Wall Street in my history where the CEOs ended up in the management, sold the firm to their arch nemesis, anti-company that they would have never been in bed with for a lot of money. So the executives walked out with millions, and then the firm was basically folded. And so my point is, people get funny when there's money, it gets big. I think that the difference is today in a Web3 world, that is the community, to Mike's point, is the whole value. And if they decide to up and go do something else, I mean, that's that. I feel like there's so many examples of big time influencers, communities turning against them because they didn't like the direction it went in. And you can't afford to have that risk anymore when Web3 provides the option. Mike, to your point, I think the answer is charge a little bit, but not a lot, and maybe do some deal with Reddit. Like Reddit itself pays the people that the concept of Web3. Bring them in on the profit, and it's funny how things will get smoothed out. But that's not what's happening.
And I think the other thing too is that you know what? Why do they? If they're going to IPO, why would you destroy major accounts in your business? That's like saying we run, you know, a major publishing house, and then we get rid of our top 3 best-selling authors, like shoot them in the foot, and then go, oh, hey, by the way, but we've still got a really good business, come and buy it from us. Why do they do that?
But Michelle, if I told you could set your house on fire and everyone would be safe and you get out with 200 million pounds in your back pocket, you'd say, where do I sign? They don't care about the long term at these companies. The executives are making a decision based off short-term metrics.
Yeah.
All right. Story number 3. Retailers gamify shopping with virtual storefronts. So for those who aren't familiar, virtual storefronts are on the rise. Stores, which now often include games and scavenger hunts, drive better engagement, which leads to better conversion of shoppers. So you can basically go to the online store of many of these organizations, Nike, Budweiser, there's more every day. The amount of time the average shopper spends in a virtual store is 74% higher than the amount of time they spend on traditional e-commerce shopping sites. So that means you can basically sell them a lot more when they're on there because they want to be than trying to pitch them and push them. Michelle, I'll let you lead this conversation because of your comment when I forwarded this article. Our in-shopping expert here.
Yeah. Resident in-shopping expert here. So there's a couple of things in the article. The first one is that when they introduced people having their own avatar who could walk through the store, it increased the shopping, it increased the length of stay to look around and the amount of checkouts at the cart by what was it, over 70%, which is astounding when you think about it. And the other thing that was really interesting, I thought, was that people spend more time in these stores than their own, like real life ones. Instead of going into the real life store, they're actually spending longer in the virtual stores. And I used to really love shopping, like seriously loved it. Like I shop till you drop used to be my motto. And then COVID came and we never went anywhere. And I lived in Melbourne in the longest lockdown city in the world, 7 months at home, where one person could go to the shops and you could only go for a certain amount of time. And no retail stores were open, only food shopping. And I learn't how to order things online and, things would turn up at the door. And now I really hate shopping. I'll go if I need to, but I don't wander around for hours anymore. And I think that is the problem that you're seeing play out in this particular way with people spending larger amounts of time in the virtual store than in the real world store.
Mike, what do you think about this?
I think it's a bullshit excuse to have people stop stealing shit off their shelves. And I think that they're using this as just sort of an engaging tool that keeps the inventory safe, gamifies it a little bit, introduces this little meta concept. And I'd be willing to bet that most people that are spending that much time in the store are trying to figure out how to navigate around at this point. They're not even shopping.
Sure.
Yeah. But it
said increased checkouts.
Mike, you raise a good point. I never thought about this as an anti-theft move. That makes sense.
Well, I mean, stores out west in California and some of these crazy towns where crime is on the rise here, they're actually putting digital items on a touch screen in the store. So you don't you walk into a CVS, you can't actually pick up a tube of toothpaste. You have to push a button and then it appears at the register. So, I mean, they're using these anti-theft digital assets now. Some things are behind glass, locked doors, simple items, but, items that they're having a lot of issues with thievery. So, this could easily be a way to combat that, get people into an experience that, maybe gets their mindset away from that. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day who's a little bit older than me. And, I was talking to him about having the advantage of living half my life with, outside this matrix and half the life inside this matrix. I don't ever see me in a position to, buy all of these items digitally, especially items that for example, pants. I want to try these pants on before I actually purchase them, right? Nowadays, most people don't do that. There's return policies that make it eligible to show up at your door before 2 p.m. You can try it on. If you don't like it, you just leave the box outside your house and somebody else comes and picks it up.
As
So
Michelle would say, you're often too big for your britches. I understand.
I understand.
yeah, it's a wide thigh problem. So yeah, I mean, look, there's a few different ways to look at it. I'm not against the gamification side of it. I think that, it definitely, I'm not going to, bring this to my grandmother and say, hey, go shopping for a pair of shoes in this digital world, because she won't know where to even begin. She'll actually take it off, not turn it off, and it will calculate her spending 74% of her time in the store.
Two thoughts occur to me real fast. Number one, we know from content marketing, Michelle, you'll agree with this. The less friction, the better. The minute you introduce friction to the process, that you lose people. And so that's in every typical sales funnel. There is some friction here, but on the other hand, that's the same friction in figuring out the storefront, how to move around. It's fun as a game for a little while. I think if that doesn't get simplified and they don't make the process smoother, ultimately this backfires. But right now, heck yeah, it's an easy way to sell stuff. It's another avenue of selling, number one, and it is a more policeable avenue.
And like I've said before, like how my kid's going to be selling Starbucks coffees in the metaverse or at McDonald's making burgers and stuff, then there's going to be people in there that will assist you in finding the perfect outfit for you.
I agree with you. It's not going to be food, though, right? You don't need that for your digital avatar. But what would you need? And but you're right. There's already commerce in the metaverse. Apple's going to move this forward by light years.
But my point is, I think that kids are going to be employed as, like, their job is going to be the sales assistant in the metaverse. I think that will come.
Right. I almost feel like the virtual version of what aisle would I find, Scrooge in Home Depot is going to be, let me just take control of your avatar for a second. I'll take you right there.
Just take my hand and follow me. No, but let's just talk about that for a minute. Like, if you think about it, what's the difference between, like, you go to the store now, if you actually have a genuine problem or can't find something, it's almost as hard to find a sales assistant to assist you as it is to actually search the aisles yourself to try and find the answer to your question, right?
Go ahead.
No, go on.
I was in Home Depot recently with, big hardware store here in the States. And I couldn't find whatever product it was. I asked the local dude to help me out, and he looks up on some app. And I thought to myself, I said to him, can I get that app? He's like, oh no, it's in store only.
No, it's in store only.
I'm thinking to myself, I don't need to ask this guy if I've got that app.
If you've got the app, it'll tell you it's in aisle 15 or 3/4 of the way down or something. Yeah. But like if we have a metaverse and we have kids who are sitting at home, they're on their computers anyway, and they're characters in there, and they can assist you when you walk into Ralph Lauren or Starbucks or Dolce & Gabbana or Target in the metaverse. Why can't they help you in there to find what it is that you want? Like, I just see that that's coming.
So to your point,
it's going to be replaced by AI. There's not going to be one single job that's going to be incorporated in there. This is all going to be. And you look, these physical stores have trained us to become checkout clerks as it is, right? I didn't, I think it was Bill Burr that had the joke. I'll give him the credit he deserves because it's absolutely hilarious. It's like, you have the audacity to tell me to go to your store, park my car, go in, pick the items off the shelf, go up to the register, scan the items, pay for the items, bag it myself, and get the hell out of the store. What the hell are you doing for me? What am I like? Where? Why are you getting a markup here? Like, where's my commission from actually checking this out? So look, we can be trained using technology to make it more efficient, quote unquote. But at the end of the day, they're just really cutting down overhead costs on their end and potential loss in this thievery model.
Some examples of stores that are already doing this with the virtual storefront from the article: American Girl, Ralph Lauren, Corona, Crocs, Coach, Dior, Mattel. These are all primarily either kids-oriented or luxury brand-oriented. These are the early movers. And so, by way of example, the article discusses American Girl's virtual store. Shoppers spend an average 8 minutes per session in there, and that's over 1,000% longer than they average spend on the company's website. So it's definitely effective. It's and once the other companies see it starts to take, even if they don't capture the money right away, they got the attention, they're going to do the same. That's all the stories we got for you this week. We're going to do an abbreviated session unless you guys have anything you want to mention, Michelle, Mike. I think we can take it over to Twitter for a quick chit chat. And I know, Mike, you may have to bolt early, depending.
No, I'm good to go. So let's jump over to Twitter.
Michelle, you can take it from here.
Okay, so we need to finish the broadcast for LinkedIn and YouTube, and then we can be on Twitter.
All right, I'm ending the broadcast for LinkedIn. Thanks for listening, everybody. We're here every Wednesday, 4 o'clock. Web3 by 3, 4 p.m. Eastern, that is. We appreciate the support. Feel free to give us a follow. We would love it. See you guys on Twitter.